I'm back. I'm back. So yeah, basically the first video that I made, I pretty much wasted the entire time rambling about stuff, and I didn't even get to the topic that I was um going to discuss. But first, before I get into that, I had seen a thing on the interwebs talking about 40 bags in 40 days, and basically what that entails. It's a method to declutter your life, and so your goal is to fill a bag full of blah a day for 40 days, and at the end of 40 days you're going to have a lot less clutter. And it doesn't mean like it doesn't have to be like a 40-gallon size garbage bag. It could be like a little grocery bag. And so basically what I've been doing is just opening drawers, because let's face it, what do? We open drawers, we throw stuff in, and then we end up with stuff like this. I've got like 15 little containers of mints, and I've got like all these chapsticks, and there's another one, and all sorts of ink pens, and half the time, half of them ink pens probably don't even work. Now the chapsticks I ain't gonna get rid of, because God knows I'm gonna use them. But and then receipts, and then I opened one drawer and I had all of this, and it's junk mail. I mean, I've got Christmas cards. I've got Christmas cards that I didn't even open yet, because basically what I did is I just threw them in this drawer, and old airplane tickets, and we let this stuff accumulate until it kind of takes over everything. And in the bathroom, I had all sorts of empty or near empty bottles and jars, and you go in to get ready and you start knocking stuff off, and it's like, okay, it's time to declutter a little bit. I wonder if any of these are the mint that I love so good. I did find a new kind of chapstick. It is now normally, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm just a diehard cherry fan. Although I do enjoy the cake batter and the pumpkin pie, which Tracy Hayner Vanover, if I'm not mistaken, honey. Yeah, I've still got your chapsticks in here to send to you. So I'll have to remind myself to go to the post office to send your chapsticks on. But anyway, I found a pomegranate gumdrop chapstick, and I'm not even trying to lie to you. It's kind of fabulous. I've had people send me, I'm talking every kind of lip balm out there. I mean, every brand, every kind, every flavor. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that it's all about the chapstick. I mean, I've tried the Carmex, and I've tried Chapette or Chapas or whatever. I just don't like the feel of them. I'm kind of a dedicated chapstick kind of lady. But anyway, anywho, right. So anywho, what I was wanting to talk about, what I was wanting to address today, I get up every day and I sort of scroll through, the book of face, and kind of see what everybody's been doing, and this, that, and the other, and kind of gauge where everybody's at, with their moods and what's going on in their lives, and because I'm nosy. We're all nosy. I know a lot of people won't admit that. I'm not nosy. We're nosy. If you're human, you're nosy. You just are. That's just what happens. And the thing about stuff like Twitter and which I still don't understand, and the Facebook and this, that, and the other, is that it gives us all this opportunity to be voyeurs. to sort of look at other people's lives and see where they're coming from. And sometimes, you know what, it's such an affirmation, because you read some people's posts and you think, wow, that makes me seem pretty normal by comparison. And then, you read some people's statuses and you think, so full of shit. And then there's people like me who just share everything. And I don't share a whole lot of personal stuff. I used to be. And sometimes I fight the urge. Sometimes if I get my feelings hurt or I get angry, I'll start to talk something, but then I'm like, no, I'm not do it. But the one common thread and the one big thing that I've noticed with a lot of people lately is the relationship troubles and the relationship times. And it seems like a lot of people are going through some mess and going through some struggle and going through some sadness and going through some this, that, and the other as a result of relationships. And you know what? It's a natural part of life. We've all. I keep a toothbrush in my drawer because I have got a desk that has got like this little crevice that runs the perimeter of it, and crumbs will get in there. And I also keep it for my laptop to get the crumbs out of that. I don't like crumbs. I really need to scrub this desk. I think after I make this video, that's exactly what I'll do. But anyway, toothbrushes are handy. So there's your little handy do-it-yourself tip for the day. You're welcome. But anywho, and they're also good for the car to get the little crevices in your car. Anyway, here's the thing, and depending on your age and depending on your development in life, you have been through some mess probably by this point. If you're really young, you probably haven't had a chance to get kicked around a whole lot. But here's the thing, and I've always said this, and I've always felt this way. I think a lot of times when it comes to relationships and it comes to matters of your heart, I think it's good to be fearless. Pretty much my entire life, I have been that person. That fearless person who throws caution to the wind and jumps in head first and doesn't really stop to think about the later or the consequence or. And what I can tell you is that more often than not, it has ended horribly. With some moments of happiness thrown in there. I can't say that every single experience was just 100% shit. That's not accurate. There's been a lot of joy, and then there's been a definite amount of heartache. And what I can say for myself at this age, 45, I'm a lot more cautious than I used to be. I don't so much place my worth in the hands of another. I mean, I think it's wonderful to be with someone who thinks you're wonderful. That's always a great thing. It's always great to have someone tell you that you're fabulous and tell you that you're wonderful. But you know what? Those are just words. They're just words. I think the most important thing is to be with someone who shows you that you're wonderful, and someone who demonstrates in a very tangible way what they feel for you. I think sometimes we get so caught up in what is told to us, and we take it to heart so much and place so much value and take so much stock in what people say to us. And then we're so let down when their actions don't match their words. And for that reason, I think it's probably a smarter thing to not listen so much to what somebody says as pay attention to what they do. You know, I've said this before. I'll say it again. Probably say it a lot more during the course of my life. Um, I think that we as people are so enamored with the idea of being in love. We love romance. We love all those wonderful feelings and the newness of it and this, that, and the other. I think we love it so good, in fact, that sometimes we don't stop to think. And while I used to be the kind of person who would just jump into things, I see now and realize now that I was putting my worth into somebody else's hands. It's like I needed that affirmation. I needed for someone to tell me that I was worthy, and that's a pretty lonely place. I think it's a cool thing and it's a wonderful thing if you can get to the point in your life where you're okay. You're okay being by yourself. You're okay being alone. Because you don't need that validation from somebody else. You know, yeah, it's great to be in a relationship and it's great to be with somebody and it's great to feel like you've got that other half and and you're a team and that's wonderful. But if it's not legitimate and it's not real, then you know what I'm saying? What's the point? I mean, I've heard, and this is cliche, but I don't care. It's better to be alone for the right reasons than with somebody for the wrong reasons. And I know so many people that are in these relationships that they have no business being in. And they feel so alone. They're with people, yet they feel so alone. But they stay because they're afraid of being by themselves. Well, honey, you're already alone. You're already by yourself. At least, at, at least if you are truly single, then you ain't having to put up with somebody else's shit. But I think people, and I know for me, for years, I was terrified of being alone. Terrified of it. Could not stand the thought of it. And honey, I was telling somebody the other day, I had a relationship, a very long-term relationship, where the person would threaten me with leaving. Every time we'd have an argument, every time we'd have a disagreement, I was threatened with, I'll just leave. And that crippled me. That crippled me. Even though this was a relationship that had absolutely drugged me to hell and back 10 times over, I was absolutely terrified of them leaving me. And so what I found myself doing is that when there was a disagreement or an argument, even if it wasn't my fault, I found myself groveling and begging and pleading so that this person wouldn't leave me. And I did that for years. And finally, towards the end, what happened, I just got so tired of it. I got so fed up with it because it was just so repetitive that finally we got into an argument one day and they threatened to leave me, and I told her, honey, I'll go help you pack your bags. Well, honey, the look on her face. Clutch the pearls, because she didn't expect that. The expectation was, it was a pattern that was established. I think that's what happens too a lot of times in these relationships. You establish a pattern very early on of who is going to be the dominant one, who is going to be the one to have control. And it was established very early on that she had control. Because like I said, she could do the most heinous bullshit, and I would be apologizing for it. But you know what? You can only do that for so long before finally you have to realize I am worth something. I deserve better than what I'm getting, and I would much rather be by myself and cry as opposed to be with someone and devalue myself. And I think that's what happens with a lot of people. I think they're just so afraid and so scared of being alone that they put up with shit that on a good day they'd never put up with. Sometimes I think we have to love ourselves a little bit more. We have to put value on ourselves a little bit more. And And it just saddens me to see people, even good people, nice people, beautiful people, you know, lower themselves or think less of themselves because somebody didn't see their worth or somebody didn't see their value. Honey, the only person's opinion that matters is yours. When you look in the mirror, what you see is what matters. You know, we encounter people who make us feel one way or the other. They make us feel less than. They make us feel not so pretty. They make us feel all these things. And my question is, who in the hell gave them the right? Who in the hell gave them the power to do that? And the answer is we do. And so sometimes I think it's more about taking back that power. Don't sit there and be sad because of something that they did or something that they said or something that happened that made you feel like shit. No, don't give them that power. You know, my mother, God rest her soul, she told me several times growing up. Her relationship advice was a little different than most mothers. And my mother's relationship advice to me was always make sure that when you're in a relationship, make sure that they love you more than you love them. And I always would say to her, Mother, that's a horrible thing to say. That's horrible. And she said, I'm just letting you know. You'll have a lot less grief and a lot less heartache if you make sure that they love you more. And so growing up, I just thought that's the most cynical, horrible relationship advice that a person could ever receive. As I've gotten older, I realized what she meant. I realized what she meant. And Aunt Deb and I talked about this a little bit summer before last. Sometimes we get in these relationships where we put the other person, honey, on a pedestal and we put them up so high that eventually they're looking down. They're looking down at us as if we're somehow less than. And that's not a good place to be. I think it's good in a relationship if you can elevate one another to where you're both on even pedestals. You know, not have one up here, not have one down here, even. Um, I mean, I love my mother dearly, and I do think on some levels um, her advice is sound. On the other hand, it is pretty cynical. Um, and I've been in both positions. I've been in relationships where they love me way more than I love them. And conversely, I've been in relationships where I love them way more than they love me. And I think at the end of the day, the only thing we can be responsible for is what we do and how we feel. I can't control how the other person feels about me. I mean, I can in terms of my actions, because if you go around acting like an asshole, guess what? They're eventually not going to love you, and that's your fault. That's at your hand. Conversely, if you're very sweet and you're loving and you're kind, you hope that resonates with him and with them, and you hope that it gets reciprocated. But to all of my friends, and there are quite a few of you, there's a surprising, alarming number of you, and I ain't gonna call y'all out by your names and shit. But keep your heads up. Keep your heads up. I mean, like I said, relationships are great, but they're not everything. They're not everything. Relationships are meant to me. This is just my opinion, and I could be wrong. It happened once. It was like 1974 or something. But relationships should enhance your life, not make your life. You see what I'm saying? I think the best relationships are built on friendships and mutual respect and having your own identity in your own life and then bringing that together with another person and sharing in that and enjoying that. I think there's nothing wrong in the beginning of a relationship to just be completely enamored with your partner. I think we all do it, and as we all should. And I think that we should spend the rest of our lives being enamored with the person that we're with. But I think sometimes people put everything They put all their eggs in one basket. You gotta leave an egg or two out the basket, honey. You really do. But to all my friends that are going through some bullshit right now, just keep your head up. You know, love yourself. I think that's the best advice I can give to anybody. Because when you love yourself, honey, and you have a strong sense of awareness and you have a strong resolve regarding who you are, then to me, you're unstoppable. And it boils down to the law of attraction. What you put out is what you get back. If you put out that strong, confident, I don't need you, I want you, then the hope is that that's what you're going to get back in return. So, head up, young people. So, I know you're all disappointed that I've not shown you my hair today, but quite frankly, you probably wouldn't want to see it. It's just not pretty. So, there it is. That's what I wanted to say. Probably a bit more jumbled than I wanted to say it. My thoughts are never really organized. You all know this by now. But there they are. For better or worse, that's what I think. So, I'll see you later.